Hi, this is Marya Doery. I'm a software developer who specializes in mobile app development, and I'm here with JB Rainsberger, and we're continuing our work using an LLM to build his mobile app that he'd like to use to track his bowling sessions.
Yep.
So, what are we going to do next, JB?
One of the things that we had talked about previously doing is we asked Bolt to build an export feature and it built export and import. Or maybe we asked it to build import once we thought about it. I don't even remember how it happened. But we have export and import. And the downside with the import feature is Bolt was concerned about like, what should I do when we import sessions? Should I replace everything? Should I merge the new sessions with the ones that are already in memory? And at that moment, I sort of realized that maybe we made a mistake by framing this as export import because there's sort of two different features involved here. One of them is export, where I want, say, a summary of practice sessions so that I can pull them into a spreadsheet and do some additional analysis. How have I done over the last 10 practice sessions? Or are there any interesting patterns? That kind of thing.
Right.
But at the same time, there is also some benefit to doing just like an export everything, import everything feature, because that's really more like backup and restore.
Right.
And so it made me think, oh, right. We have really two different features that because I'm a programmer, like I did the removing duplication in my head that maybe I shouldn't have done. So I think what we really want to do, instead of telling that Bolt did the right thing with the merging and all that stuff, which I actually don't care about, is to maybe separate backup and restore from import and export, because I think ultimately I don't even want import at all. I want backup and restore so that I can take my data with me, and if there's a problem, I can always roll back. And
Right.
so that's where exporting everything into a JSON format that's universal for the whole application state, and then to be able to just essentially say, okay, start from here, that's really good. But for export, I really don't want the corresponding import, right? The purpose of export is to be able to get data out so that I don't have to build a miniature spreadsheet into this app, which would be
Yeah.
dumb. I want to be able to just export stuff as CSV, pull it into LibreOffice Calc, and do whatever I want with it. I can look at it with visit data. I can slice and dice it with JQ. Everything is wonderful. So that led me to think, hey, maybe we should ask Bolt to re-implement import as like an explicit backup and restore and see if it behaves differently. Does it try to do the same import thing where I have to worry about merging or replace all? Or is there enough training data out there that makes it sort of understand the subtle distinction between backup and restore and export import?
Right.
However, I don't think I care about that right now. I think I'm pretty happy to just never use import and maybe we'll get rid of it later. Maybe as I learn a little bit more React, I'll feel comfortable ripping import out completely myself.
Okay.
And then I can say, Bolt, hey, can we build backup and restore now? I'm not sure that's going to be so interesting to see it happen again.
Right.
So that also means there's a bunch of testing we need to do because there's no point in testing the code it generated if we're just going to get rid of it anyway.
Yeah.
So best way to block the kick is not to be there. So we're just going to move on. So that leads me to the problem you raised that I didn't notice. And I always love one of the reasons I love pairing so much is I don't have to think of everything. And so when you pointed something really, really obvious out to me, instead of my immediate reaction being, "Wow, how stupid I am," my immediate reaction really was genuinely, "Oh, I'm so glad I didn't have to think about that." So, would you like to describe the problem you saw that I didn't?
Okay, so this is the problem where you had started the session,
Yeah.
and I honestly, I have a little trouble remembering it. I think you had, recorded a few throws, and then
Yeah.
like you closed the app,
Yes.
and then you reopened it, and the session just like it was just like gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
We
I
were
saw the
this,
start button, and
yeah,
I was like, well, wait a second, what happened?" So
right.
basically,
So
all
this
your
was
session data would seem to be gone.
Yeah, and this was actually, funnily enough, this was a thing that we did because we were testing the bug that we
Testing so
fixed.
another bug, yeah.
And so um I wasn't sure whether stopping the app and restarting it seemed to work around the problem because then the history was up to date with all the practice sessions. So I thought,
Right.
oh, okay, well, what happens if like we close the app in the middle of practice session? Does that affect anything? And I was in the middle of very happily showing how this reproduced the bug on the history tab. And then you
Right.
went, wait a second, that's
Yeah, like what?
horrible. Did you not
Whoa.
notice that? And again, that's the beautiful thing about pairing, right? Is that I get to think about something else and you get to notice something and, we get to play a little bit on the wisdom of the crowd. So,
Yeah.
indeed, it is a problem that if a practice session is in progress and something happens and the app stops running, all those recorded throws are thrown away. Now, when I built this by hand in Python, that was I thought about that. And so I built the app so that it would record, it would essentially use SQLite as a write through cache on every event.
Hmm.
So there was one table that had the current practice session that was being updated on every single move, whether it was undo or record a throw. And so for me, kind of an interesting challenge now is to describe the problem to Bolt without jumping into directing it the way a senior programmer would, describing the problem purely technically, but instead trying to put myself in the mind of a non-programmer user trying to describe the problem. And I'm curious to see how Bolt interprets the problem and what ends up happening. So let's give it a shot. So let's switch back over to the preview here.
And again, I think this is actually a case where we can't test it in this preview, right? Because there's no way to mimic. Is there any way to mimic, like, you
I
shut
think I
down?
think if we reload the page in the browser, that
Mm,
might do it. And I'm not sure whether this reload preview would do it, but we can
yeah.
certainly try it. And
Hmm.
in the worst case, we can't actually verify that it works until we install it on the phone.
Right. Okay.
But let's see. So, um, bad news seems to be now whenever I say bad news, I think Bolt can probably expect what's happening next. Um, let's see. There is let's see. Um, if the application stops while I'm recording throws in a practice session, then when the whoops, application restarts, geez, I can't type. Um, all those throws are discarded. This is terrible. I need this application to um, remember the no. So again, how am I gonna say this in a way doesn't doesn't reflect my programmer knowledge of what's going on? Uh, when the application, how about this? When the application stops during a practice session, I want the application to be able to resume the practice session from where it had left off. How's
Sure.
that?
That sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Please fix. All right. If part of the idea here is to
You're
mimic,
absolutely right.
great. It complimented me for the first
You're
time
back to that
today.
again.
It's great.
Yeah, go ahead. You said you part of the point is what?
But if part of the point is to sort of cast myself in the role of the non-technical customer,
Right.
then I might as well really lean into it. It seems to be doing an awful lot of work. That's interesting. Add
Yeah.
session persistence and recovery. It's kind of how I would think about it. All right. So let's see, even just at the summary here, what it's saying. So if the app crashes, then the session automatically resumes with all throws intact. Okay. It spelled intact correctly, so I'm impressed with that. Um, Session persisting P resumed on phone restart. All data is
That's
preserved and
interesting,
recoverable. Yeah. Um,
right?
as a programmer, that's not impressive to me, but I'm guessing a non-technical customer might feel impressed by that, even though
I'm
we
impre-
know
I,
that this.
I'm
But the
impressed that it
solution is just to
considered
write it to persistent storage. So of course it's going to stay there.
what impresses me is that it thought about that, I think. That it actually thought about a phone restart. Very
Right.
nice. I
So
like
it I don't know how much of that is like I uh humans tend to reassure each other, therefore I'm going to add more information to reassure the human. And they're
it.
just mimicking our tendency to reassure each other.
Mhm.
Um, or if there's something in its, model of reality that makes it believe those things are different in the same way that a non-technical customer might believe those things are different, even though we know as programmers they're the same.
Well,
Persistence is persistence. It's in the name.
it depends on how you persist things, right? Anyway,
I hope it's on a file, and that file is not going anywhere, even when the phone restarts. But at any rate, so and I like here accidental app closure, nothing is lost. That is as succinctly as I wish I had put it.
yes. Well,
All
but
right.
except for that, most users, I mean, I would think your common user wouldn't even know to say that, like I accidentally.
Exactly. So let's see whether we can see any evidence of this working here. All right. So now, ah,
Checking for unfinished sessions. Uh-oh.
so I don't love the words, and it seems to be stuck there.
It's stuck. It's funny, you
Okay.
can't tell what's happening. Whoa.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, that's not good.
So the not being able to tell what happens is interesting, and the fact that it's now
Oh,
blocking
I
is
wonder
interesting.
if there's a dialogue
There
that's
might
hanging
be.
right
There
now.
might be. So if I go over, okay, so this is the session that we created. And if I go back to practice, I get stuck there. So I can't tell whether this is another one of these things that we can't check in the preview. If the restarting the preview wasn't enough, and maybe I need to restart the
Reload the
whole,
page. Yeah.
reload the page. So we don't know yet why that didn't behave the way we expected, because that could be another example of the difference between how it behaves in the Stack Blitz preview and how it behaves on the phone. But this sort of mimics killing the app and restarting it. It would be really bad if it's still stuck on that little looking for unfinished sessions message. Like I get what it was trying to do,
Right.
but that is not what I'm hoping for. And again, when I
Right.
built it by hand in Python, that's not what I did. I just, if you opened up the screen and
It
there
should
happened
just
to already
pop
be
up.
data there, then you would know, oh, this must have been the previous session in progress.
Right.
So
Right.
let's see what we get. Since we're down to a dearth, we have a dearth of monthly tokens. We're going to have to
Yeah.
pause pretty soon anyway.
Yeah.
As we're recording this, it's 8 days away from the beginning of the month. So
Yeah.
we can stay on the free tier at least for one more month. Um, the fact this is taking a while is a bit of a surprise to me. But
Funny.
at any rate, so yes, I suppose the other thing we can do is then do what we have done on every change, which is export the app, do a quick visual inspection of the code difference, and see if we can, understand what's going on. I guess we go back up here. What did it say it did? Um, that's interesting. So it's doing
Oh,
essentially what I did
okay.
when I built it by hand in Python. I had one database table for the current session that only ever had one row. There we go, checking for unfinished sessions and getting stuck. I wonder if it's the same mistake that it made with the history tab. Wouldn't that be funny? Um, because it looks like all the model stuff is working, right? If we go over to the history tab, it is there. So this is some kind of a loading problem that might be exactly the same mistake that caused the history bug that we fixed in the last session.
Honestly, I don't think so because I think that component's just loading fresh, so probably it should be checking for the data at that point. I wouldn't think
One would
that's
think. One would think.
anything that
So,
has
we'll
to
see.
be. Yep.
Oh, that it is. You know what? It says you can choose to
There you
resume or
go.
discard the
So there's
session.
a
So there's
dialogue.
a dialog box there. Okay.
Do
Yep.
you want
All
that?
right.
Do you want the choosing to
That's a good
resume?
question. So my immediate reaction is nah, but it does tell me that what we don't have is a discard button, right? So if I'm in a session and I want to throw it away, the only way I can throw it away right now is by ending it, going into
Stop it.
history and garbage and
Right.
deleting it. There's no discard. Is that interesting to me? I don't know.
You,
So let's
do
just
you
put it in the
want?
inbox. Let's just put it in the inbox and
Okay.
see if that might be interesting. Um, Otherwise, it's probably doing the right thing. So now there's kind of two ways to go here that come to my mind. One is build it and check it on the phone and see that it works. And the second is tell it to get rid of the
Good
confirmation
time.
so that we can check it on the preview. But that's going to take tokens.
Right. Um,
So,
and how much do you really like that feature? Do you really like the dialogue?
yeah, I have to admit that right now I'm struggling to come up with a genuine answer because I might be um, biased too much by the fact that it would make the preview feature in
Oh,
Stack Blitz work better. You get what I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
So, like I think my immediate reaction, and there's also the bias that when I built it by hand, I didn't bother doing that. So it's very easy for me to say, oh, I don't need that.
Hmm. So I'm just going to interject here in case anybody's watching this and they haven't seen the
Yeah.
whole series. There's an alert dialogue right now, and you just can't see
Yes.
the web version of the app. You'll only see it on the mobile app. That's
Yeah,
a
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
That's thanks you
yeah,
for phrasing that because that's context that maybe not every viewer saw. So there is
yeah,
a dialogue here, but the Stack Blitz preview won't show it.
right.
Um, I genuinely don't think I want it. I think instead I would prefer to add a discard button to the practice alongside start, a pause, and end.
Okay.
And the workaround in the meantime would be end the session, go to history, and delete it. So at least we know that there's a workaround. The discard button on the practice session, on the practice tab, is a convenience.
Okay.
And then, yeah, otherwise, I think this pop-up dialog is really just kind of annoying. So, okay, let's see what it'll do. Not bad, but but I don't like the um, the dialog box for confirming, for choosing whether to discard the unfinished session or resume it. Instead, um, I'm trying to think of how to word this. I want you to always resume the unfinished session without waiting for the user to confirm that preference. Please fix. So this is a pattern that I've seen now with these LLMs where they definitely, that was quick.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, what happened? That was funny.
they they have a tendency to give you more than you asked for.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, that makes sense because that reflects the typical human tendency to give people more than they asked for, right? That's why something like extreme programming exists in the first place, was to remind people, hey, uh, don't try to deliver the minimum possible instead of delivering more, because then you can deliver it sooner and then we can find out whether we really need it.
Yeah.
Some risks with that approach as well, but let's see what happens here. If I end this session, then it shows up in the preview. I can't delete it because I can't accept the dialogue, but let's just
Right.
double check that this. Fortunately, I don't care about any of this data. If I do this, it should just come back with 6 throws. And it did.
Okay.
So if it still even has that like interstitial checking for unfinished sessions thing, we can't see it.
Right.
And then I'm curious, does it keep the pause resume state?
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I don't know if I care, but I might as well write it down.
Yeah.
So refresh doesn't keep
Oh,
pause resume
and
state.
we've run out of tokens, so we
Yeah,
can't.
exactly. So there's nothing we
Yeah.
can do right now, anyhow. It's nothing that we can tell Bolt to do. But so let's just quickly review what it said. It didn't compliment me, which is unfortunate.
Which is funny. It
But
didn't.
it
I
just
think
said,
it didn't
"Okay,
like
boss."
what you're
Yeah,
asking it for.
exactly. Yeah, right.
No, you're not.
Fine.
I'll do it
I'll
anyway.
remove the dialogue and make the app automatically resume any unfinished session without asking for confirmation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. It complimented itself, which is delightful. So it does exactly what I would expect. Okay. It's telling me what's good about my decision. The app just works the way you expect it to. Yep. I like that. Okay. I'm happy with that. So
Okay.
now we can again download it, put it in my Git repository, build it, install it on the phone, and check that it does exactly what we're expecting. So I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Okay. So we'll take off from here next time we meet.
Yes, absolutely.